Tanner Bibee, step right up. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, April 27th. Frank Stampfl joined by the Chris's, Towers, and the Welsh. Today on the show, very eventful day on Wednesday. Tanner Bibee made his debut. Jordan Walker, unfortunately, got optioned down to AAA. Robbie Ray is out for the season. We'll get to all of that. Before we get started, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out to those who watch us like religiously every night. We usually go like after midnight Eastern time. So thank you for hanging out every night. It's awesome that you're here watching us live. We do appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio side, download, follow, and leave a 5-star rating. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Let's jump right in. Oh my goodness gracious, players of the night. Get up! Get out of here! Come on! All right. Chris Towers, let's start with you, bud.
Yeah, I'll take the Olive Garden breadstick of the night, and we'll talk about it's Tanner Bibee, right? I wanted to say Tyler for some reason, but that's not the name. It's Tanner Bibee, and he looked really, really good in his major league debut. 5 2/3 innings. It was against the Rockies outside of Coors Field, so we're grading on a curve here, but still 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 6 hits, no walks. The stuff looked really, really good. He averaged 95 miles per hour with his 4-seam fastball. He had a slider curveball combination that looked wicked. The changeup looked pretty good. Slider's got like ridiculous depth. This is not a sweeper. This is this thing dives off the table. It looks kind of like a curveball. I think differentiating between the two of those will be kind of difficult. The curveball is just going to be a little slower, but the movement profile looked pretty similar for both of them. And he looked really, really impressive. Obviously, the Guardians are an organization that has more than earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the development and maximization of their young pitchers. And he looks like a super talented one. So I'm very excited about what we saw from Tanner Bibee today.
As you should be as well. I saw this interesting stat. Tanner Bibee is the first Cleveland pitcher since at least 1920 to record 5+ consecutive strikeouts in his major league debut. The slider that you referenced was his most used pitch in the start, 44% of the time. So interesting because it's like a 12-6 curveball, but it's a slider. It's like a 12-6 slider. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Did you guys listen to the broadcast at all outside of watching? Sometimes I don't. And if anybody did, they were losing their minds for 2 innings at least, fighting over what this pitch was. They're like, I don't know what this is. And they're like, it's a curveball. And they're like, doesn't really throw the curveball that much. They couldn't figure it out. And by all looks, on so many of them, it is a wild pitch. It might almost need its own designation because I don't really recall. I can't think off the top of my head anyone a 12-6 like curvy slider that bites at the end, and some versions of it have more bite than the other. It's a wild slider seeing like up close in person like we did in that, and guys didn't know what the hell to do with it. They didn't know what was going on. It had not only 7 whiffs on the pitch, which he threw more than any other pitch, 44%. It also had 13 called strikes because guys were just letting it sit in. He was commanding it. I was insanely impressed with Bibee. Fastball lost a couple times, but he was getting guys off of it. The changeup is probably going to become a little bit bigger as things go on, but he is a crazy fascinating pitcher, and it looks like they're saying he might stick around. He might stick around in this rotation, which is the best move that they could do.
Actually, now that you brought it up, I remember listening to the broadcast, and they wanted to make sure that they got it out there. It's definitely not a sweeper. You don't need your computer to tell you that. I was like, great job, buddy.
Good job, guys.
I love these old school announcers that are just like anti everything new that comes out. You mentioned it, Welsh. It sounds like Tanner Bibee will stick around. Here's what I saw from 2 different beat reporters. From Mandy Bell, Tito said Tanner Bibee will stick with the team for at least the next few days. They haven't nailed down their exact plans just yet, but Bibee will be heading on the road trip. And then this from Zach Mazel. The plan is for Tanner Bibee to stay with the big league club, Terry Francona says. So, kind of take that with a grain of salt. 34% rostered is Tanner Bibee. Look, I think, like we've been talking about all of these young pitchers, based on how good he looked, I think you probably got to go out and add Bibee. The next question is, how do we rank all these guys? Yesterday, Scott and I tried to rank them, and We didn't know for sure that Bibee was coming up. There was only speculation last night. So I think we had him 4th out of 5 on this list, and I'm sure that would change now. Towers, we'll start with you. Taj Bradley, Mason Miller, Brandon Pfaadt, Logan T. Allen, Tanner Bibee. How do you rank those 5?
Man, that's a really tough one because there are so many extenuating circumstances with all of these guys. Like,
so hard.
Taj Bradley and Brandon Pfaadt are not currently in the majors. Logan Allen, did he get sent down?
Not that I've seen. Not yet.
Yeah. So those are the only 2 who are not currently in the majors. Mason Miller, I mean, are we going to get 90 innings out of him the rest of the way? So, like, I think you can make a case that Allen and Bibee are at the top. It's just, is there a spot for either of them in the long term, let alone both? We know Tristan McKenzie is going to be coming back within the next month or so. Obviously, Aaron Savali should be back hopefully soon. You know, they could just throw Zach Plesac out. They could throw Cal Quantrill out. You know, I don't think either of those guys are difference makers, and Logan Allen and Tanner Bibee look like they could be. But yeah, given the fact that those 2 don't have innings concerns and are currently in the majors, I kind of feel like you got to put them at the top, right?
I had Taj Bradley at the top last night, and that's even with him being sent down. We don't know when he'll be back, but
that's the problem.
So impressive though, 6+ strikeouts.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he did nothing to be demoted. It was just Tampa gonna Tampa, right? So if you ask me today, after seeing Tanner Bibee, I hate changing my answer just one day, but like we just didn't know he was going to be up.
Well, yeah, we had new information.
Yeah, so I think I would go Taj, Bibee, Pfaadt, Logan Allen, and Mason Miller. I think that's my 5 right now.
I think that's reasonable.
Welsh, what do you think?
So I think it is difficult across the board. I read this article today that was a little bit more into the Taj Bradley situation because I still couldn't get over, like, what the hell are they talking about when they're like, we're going to get him on a 5-day schedule? Like, what do you got to do? Just put him out there. I think it's really silly, and they're feasible. There could be manipulation of contractual stuff that's out there, but they're sending him to the minors to start multiple games, which I don't think that's what maybe you guys knew. Maybe everybody understood. I just didn't. I was a dummy. I didn't understand. They're sending him down to start multiple games in the minors on a 5-day schedule. That's how they're going to do it instead of doing it at the majors, which, by the way, is stupid. So now we know that that's like,
do it at the majors.
Just do it at the majors because he's like phenomenal, but that's what they want to do. Contract manipulation. Let's all pretend we don't think that's what it is. So there's that. We know what that is. 2 weeks. Brandon Pfaadt pitched today in Reno. That'll be his last one. I was looking at the schedule. Diamondbacks have an off day on Monday and Thursday. In between there's obviously Colorado that's in there. Obviously he's not going to do that, but those 2 off days might allow them to push one of the veterans out. And that gives them a chance to pitch, I believe, at home against Washington. So I think he's going to pitch next Tuesday or Wednesday. Brandon Pfaadt does. So to put this all together, I'm going to stick with Taj Bradley, hoping that this is like 2 starts that they manipulate. Brandon Pfaadt, so Taj is 1. Pfaadt and Bibee are 2A and 2B. That's a tier. Then the next tier is Logan Allen. And who's our other guy? Who the hell's our other guy? Mason Miller. Mason Miller's at the bottom for me on this. I'll take Logan Allen over. But that top tier is Taj, Pfaadt, and Bibee. And if you want to have a big argument about Bibee has to be above, okay, that's fine. That's totally agreeable. He was insane, and he was awesome, and he looked as good as Taj. I want to just see like back-to-back the curveball and the slider of Taj Bradley and Tanner Bibee. I just want to see those 2 things because those are 2 of the prettiest pitches I've seen all year. So I'm not going to like get into a big argument about it, but those are my 3. My order: Bradley, Pfaadt, Bibee is what's important.
All right, Welsh. Well, let's go over to you for your oh my goodness gracious player of the night. Potentially a pitcher you will take over all of these guys.
Yeah, and this is a guy brought up a couple weeks ago, and it's still going. It's crazy. It's MacKenzie Gore. MacKenzie Gore, again, with a crazy good performance, going up against the Mets, struck out 10 in 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, had 100 pitches, now has a 3 ERA. In that game, he ended up putting up 19 swing and misses, which is obviously crazy impressive. So much, again, is done on the fastball, and it's like, you don't see that a whole lot with a lot of these other guys. You see it like on the off-speed pitches. Slider and curve have higher percentages, but 61% fastball. He had a 34% whiff rate on it, 36 overall percent CSW, and every single start this season, he has had 6 or more strikeouts. Command has always kind of been the big issue. He's commanding better. He's getting in and he's walking less. He's striking guys out because the Arsenal, he's more confident. And going into this game, just to point out, the Mets were the third least strikeout team. They strike out the least overall on the year, the third least. And he came in and sliced and diced these dudes with 11. And that's so weird about the strikeout prop. So I just can't get over how impressive he looks. He looks like the pitcher. He looks like the part. Like, we're all focusing on Jared Kelenic and how awesome that is. Think about, like, look at MacKenzie Gore. Like, MacKenzie Gore had all the juice in the world and everybody gave up on him. He's found his rhythm. He's found a good system and it's working. And he's got like a 30% K percentage. So this is a guy that we really need to pay attention to. And I think people are still sleeping on.
Yeah. Towers, I know a couple of weeks ago we spoke about MacKenzie Gore and you said, I kind of worry that he leans on the fastball so much, but maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's just a really, really good fastball. I mean, mid-90s from the left-hand side. He's got that big leg kick. And again, 12 of his 19 swinging strikes in this start came on that fastball. So normally I would agree 60% usage on a four seam in today's, day and age of baseball. Probably don't want to do that, but maybe MacKenzie Gore is just the exception to the rule. You are muted, sir.
Mute.
Yeah. I'm still somewhat skeptical, it's just really hard to thrive in Major League Baseball with, throwing 60% fastballs, but especially I feel like as a left-handed pitcher, because teams are going to stack their lineup with righties. He doesn't really have a changeup. I think he's thrown 5 of them.
1% before this game. And in this game, he threw one more. So there you go. He's thrown 6 total changeups this year.
Yeah, 6 and 5 starts. So basically not throwing in. Maybe that's a pitch that he just hasn't needed so far. But I don't know. I worry. Like, he had pretty big platoon splits last season. That hasn't, I don't think, been as much of an issue for him. He's doing a much better job of limiting hard contact, expected WOBA on contact down from 405 to 365. We did see a stretch like this from him last season. And so that's the thing that I can't get out of my head. Actually, if you remember, through June 4th, he had a 150 ERA with 57 strikeouts and 48 innings over his first. It was 9 appearances, 8 starts. So it's like things fell apart rapidly for him. So I don't want to say that I don't believe, but I am skeptical of what we're seeing so far.
Mm-hmm. And MacKenzie Gore is 71% rostered, so could be out there in some shallower leagues. Welsh, let's just say all these pitchers are available. Are you taking MacKenzie Gore at the top of that list that we just talked about?
That's really tough. I think you can make the argument. There's something about Taj Bradley on that team for me that I really can't go away from. I just think, like, he's got the baseline of a fantastic team behind him, offense, defense. And once they figure out this 5-day schedule that they got to do, like, he should be good the rest of the year, because he put up like 130 innings last year. So I actually would still go with Bradley, because I do think there's some regression in play for Gore, Kelenic, like these guys that are performing at like insane levels. There's going to be a form of regression, but I think he's making the proper changes that Gore is going to be serviceable all year. So I go like Bradley. I don't know. And I think I might go Gore over the rest of these guys, even though there's a high potential. Like, how much certainty is there with Bibee? How much certainty is there even though I think when Fott's there, he's there. It's just how good is he going to be with the homers and everything. So I'll go Gore right after Bradley.
How did, I didn't even look at the line. How did Brendan Fott look?
He was okay. When he went 5, pitch 85, he had 85 pitches, 3 earned runs. He did have a couple walks. I don't believe he gave up a homer. There might've been one in there, but the first 2 or 3 innings, he was unhittable, absolutely unhittable. And then that's the thing I worry about a little bit with him. He's got a home run problem, and that second to back into the third time through the order is what he's had problem with. And hopefully maybe that's one of the reasons why they're holding him back, but it's another 3 innings. He's still holding it down, did it in Reno in AAA, and he's got like a low 3 ERA or mid 3 ERA in the PCL. So it's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. I would put MacKenzie Gore in that kind of mini tier, like you mentioned, Welsh. I think I would take him ahead of Tanner Bibee and Brendan Fott, just because, again, there's more assurances. He's going to be in his team's rotation as long as he's healthy. I don't know that you could say that about the other guys. So it's close. The team context is definitely better for those other teams. But I think MacKenzie Gore is behind Taj Bradley for me as well. Oh my goodness gracious, for me, I just wanted to give a shout out to Anthony Volpe, who got off to a really slow start this year. Of course, Homer had to do it. 2 for 3 with a double, 2 walks, 3 runs, and 3 RBI on Wednesday. Big breakout performance just for the Yankees offense. They really needed it in general. Since his first opportunity to move into the leadoff spot, his last 14 games, Anthony Volpe is 14 for 48. That's a 292 batting average with 2 doubles, 2 homers, 11 walks, and 5 steals. So, I mean, especially the OBP, getting on base, stealing bases, like his skill set is so interesting. I don't know that I remember another hitter who I don't think he's going to hit for a great batting average. Like maybe it's 250, 260, something like that. But just profiles this way in that he's super fast, really good on base skills, but like a mediocre batting average, little bit of pop and great speed. He's just like such a unique player in that way.
I mean, he's very similar to Trent Grisham, or at least the version of Trent Grisham we got excited about, who, he's actually having a decent start to the season, but like, good plate discipline. I think Volpe's strikeout rate will come down. Pretty good power, very athletic player, but there are things in the swing profile that make it so that he may not hit for as good of a batting average as you might hope. And like, I get that might seem like a damning with faint praise kind of situation for Anthony Volpe, but I think we should all remember how excited everyone was about Trent Grisham not very long ago. And, if he's a better version of Trent Grisham, that can still be a very good player.
I wonder if it was like categorically, if it was like old school Javier Baez. They're not the same. They don't have like the exact same profile, but if you're talking like, a mid 250, 260s batting average guy that has a bunch of homers and stolen bases and stuff like that, that's like kind of who Baez used to be. But Baez obviously they have a different approach.
Yeah, I
think
think
a lot more strikeout heavy, but
sort of tilted Volpe more speed, Baez more power, but the end result.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think what's been notable so far for Anthony Volpe is just one infield pop-up, and that was a huge issue for him in the minors. He's got this big uppercut swing, so it's a lot of fly balls, a lot of infield fly balls, and normally that leads to a lower BABIP and a lower batting average, but that part of his game has been promising so far. So keeping that down and looks good. All systems go right now for Anthony Volpe leading off for the Yankees. It's a great spot to be in. Looks like he's getting more comfortable and working out. The same cannot be said for Jordan Walker, which we'll get to in just a little bit. Want to give an oh my goodness gracious shout out to Zac Gallen. What he has done over his last 4 starts is insane. 4 scoreless starts in a row. This one up against the Royals, 6 1/3 shutout, 12 strikeouts, 0 walks, 17 swinging strikes, 9 of those coming on the curve, 6 on the changeup. He ditched the cutter in this one. He went very, 4-seam curve and changeup heavy, but over his last 4 starts, 27 innings pitched for Zac Gallen, 8 hits, 1 walk, 41 strikeouts, 9 base runners in 4 starts with 41 strikeouts. He is on a run right now.
I mean, just
look, even dating back to last year, right? His second half was insane. And he's, first 2 starts were a little bit rough, but man, these last 4, amazing.
Over the last calendar year, he's at, what did he get to? 6 1/3. So he's at 206.2 innings, 229 strikeouts, and like a 2.55 ERA. That's over his last 34 starts over the last calendar year. We might have just overthought it with Zac Gallen. Like, oh, he was pitching over his head in the second half. There's no way he could repeat that. And like, yeah, he's not going to put up a 1 ERA or whatever it was, but like, he might just be really, really good.
29. I mean, around 29% K minus walk percentage. My favorite interaction about this the whole day too, because he is insane, is Pitching Ninja put out a little GIF of what is described as a cut change, and Vinny Pasquantino, the recipient of the pitch, commented, and this is about an hour ago, and said, "This was quite possibly the craziest pitch I've ever seen. I've never been more confused in my life. Was it a cutter? Was it a changeup? Somehow it was both." And that's just who Zac Gallen is. He's a magician.
I was thinking about one of the 2020 podcasts we did when, we had 3 months of no games to try to fill time for. And I can't remember if we did like the next blank or how we did it, but I remember saying Zac Gallen was the next Zach Greinke. doesn't have like overwhelming stuff, doesn't throw 97, doesn't have like generally doesn't get a lot of pitching ninja love, doesn't have like the super jiffable pitches, but just like manipulates speeds, manipulates, arm slot, manipulates the movement profiles of his pitches in a way that just like makes him so hard. Great command, great control. Just like he might be one of those guys that is just like he sort of confounds our typical understanding of what makes pitchers great.
And then think about the defense he has behind him too. Gold Glover at first, a potential Gold Glover at short when Nick Ahmed's out there, the fastest outfield in baseball. It's what makes him being on a not very popular big, team makes him even more fascinating, because there is offensive support and there is a lot of defensive support, and he needs very little of it. He needs very, how many years did we freak out about Jacob deGrom not getting any run support out there? He needs very little defense and offensive support, and he gets it done. And everybody was panicking after the first 2 weeks. People were ready to sell the house off of Zac Gallen because of what they invested. Doesn't look so great right now.
And we were talking about ranking elite starting pitchers the other day, Chris, and we said, Garrett Cole and Corbin Burns still up top. And then, we have a group of Shane McClanahan, Spencer Strider, Jacob deGrom. That's like your top 5. I think you could still put like Sandy and Max Scherzer, and Verlander's about to return. Like maybe that's, filling out your top 10. But I think once we get into that group of Julio Urias, Shohei Ohtani, Luis Castillo, Kevin Gausman, like Zac Gallen is absolutely in that group. He's like in that 10 to 15 range.
Yeah.
In that group, I think he's out of that group. I think you think he just lives in that group, or he's not better than that group? Who would you rather have? You'd rather have Urias over Gallen?
So that's what I was thinking is really interesting. Both of those guys, like I think before this season, I would have said Gallen for sure, because I thought like Urias, super safe pitcher, not necessarily as high upside, but like this new cutter seems to have unlocked something for him. His strikeout rate's way up so far. He's got like 4 good pitches now. I think Julio Urias is off to a really interesting start, and I think both of those guys, you can make a case for. I don't have them in my top 12. I think you make a case for both of them as top 12 pitchers moving forward.
Yeah, I think they're in a tier together. It wouldn't shock me, Welsh, if you said that Gallen should be at the top of that tier. I think that's acceptable. I think he's just firmly in that tier, that group of.
I gotcha.
You want to call them low end aces? That's what I would probably call them right now. But maybe he's just an ace. Maybe he's not.
I think he's like. I think you have to look at him as a top 10 overall starting pitcher in baseball. And like there are old guard guys that we have to hold on to. We are holding on to because of the talent level we've seen. And there's just going to be a battle between guys that are just not quite getting it done, and how much further Zac Gallen's going to push everybody to be one of the best. But he's also shown his hand. He had some struggles early on in the year, and he can miss that pitch sometimes. So he's not perfect by any means, but I don't know. I think when you also talk about that track record of 220 strikeouts over that period of time and everything, he's in the top 10 SPs right now. And I might say he might be a great buy still. If everybody is in a space of like, yeah, he's around like the 15s or something like that. I think he's got inside top 10 easy floor. So maybe you could still buy on the high.
All right, let's take our first break. When we return, we'll talk about Jordan Walker's unfortunate demotion here on Fantasy Baseball Today.
Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We should go to the Super Bowl.
I'm in.
Inspired by a true story.
I'm taking this one. He's cute.
One trip.
Come on, ladies.
Can change your life.
I'm at a party with a bunch of kids.
I'm 36. I'm a man.
You're working on it.
Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, and Sally Field.
This has been the best weekend of my whole life.
Why is champagne such a violent beverage?
Baby for Brady. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, and the NFL Draft is nearly here. Get real-time updates about your team's draft picks and trades all 3 days of the draft. That includes scouting reports, grades, player comps for all your team selection. Download the free CBS Sports app to use the best draft tracker out there, the best second screen companion for when you're watching the draft unfold on TV. I know what I'll be doing my setup for Thursday night. Got my old laptop over here. Have baseball on that one. I have the draft on the TV. Got my phone right here. I'll have the draft tracker up on the CBS Sports app. So highly recommend it. And we'll see. Big week in sports for me, Welsh. The Jets acquired Aaron Rodgers. That finally
Oh.
went down. So, and they didn't, they still got their first round pick. A first round pick, not their first round pick.
How excited are you? You got to be ecstatic. I don't have much to go for. My Niners don't have a pick until late Friday, but you getting Aaron Rodgers, it's a big deal. It's a big Knicks, Jets. Things are looking all frank. Things are coming up. Frankie stamps.
When's the last time the Yankees were the worst team that I was talking about?
Exactly.
It's wild.
Hey, we're thriving here.
Hey, we're thriving. Speaking of which, all three of us that are on this podcast right now, all three of our basketball teams have advanced to the second round of the playoffs. How about that?
How about them apples? Let's
Which
go.
team is mine?
The Miami Heat. Don't act like you're not a Heat fan, Chris. Come on.
Oh, really? They just won tonight. We're going overtime.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna have a nice little rivalry here for the next couple of weeks, Chris. Your Miami Heat going up.
That's the thing is that like I was born in 88. I am as old as the Miami Heat, and I came of age watching the Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Miami Heat. And so I hated the New York Knicks in the 90s more than I've ever hated any entity in any arena. Like just 8-year-old me, just furious at Jeff Van Gundy, just screaming at my TV. I hated Larry Johnson, like great player. Would have loved him if he played now, and I didn't really care. But back then, man, despised that team. So like that might might have to go buy a Heat shirt just for the Knicks aspect of it.
Frank, please come in wearing a dress. Do the Larry Johnson. Just come in like Grandmama or whatever it was. Please.
Jimmy Butler against Tibbs. It's great. Anywho, people didn't come here for basketball. Let's talk about Jordan Walker. Option back to AAA. Sat out the last 2 games. We're like, what's going on here? This is kind of weird. Scott mentioned yesterday that there was a report that Walker was making adjustments to his batting approach, trying to get the ball off the ground and stop chasing as much. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me, Welsh, is the timing. Why would the Cardinals have him on the opening day roster if they were going to give him such a short leash? It just doesn't really make sense. I know that there are external pressures and stuff and the fan base, and you see how good he performs in spring training, and you feel that pressure to have him on the opening day roster. But it's not like he's done anything that bad to be demoted. Now, I had some people point out to me that the defense has been really bad. I'd be lying if I said that I watch every single Cardinals game. I do not. But if you look at it from an offensive perspective, he started the season with a 12-game hitting streak, scuffling a bit as of late, but still 274 batting average, 5 extra base hits, 2 homers, 90-mile-per-hour average exit velocity. I just thought it was very interesting the way that the Cardinals handled the situation. Welsh, what are your thoughts? Are you holding on to Jordan Walker?
Yeah, so like anything I'm going to say is not an excuse, I believe. My bottom line, I think, is one of the stupidest things we've seen in a long time. This is equivalent to the beginning of the year. Remember when the guys needed like a little bit more seasoning and they had to stay down for 2 or 3 weeks? This is equivalent to that, because I just don't think, when's the last time you ever saw like a rookie at this level, especially on a team that has been scuffling? It's not like they're winning, like the Diamondback situation. Can't do Madison Bumgarner anymore. Can't do Jake McCarthy. I think it's silly. The things that are out there, Marmol said that Nolan Gorman is the reason. He is so good and hitting so well. The DH spot is not available, and there is nowhere to play. Dylan Carlson's been playing up a little bit, so he's a tiny bit of a defensive liability, and they don't have that extra versatility because how Gorman's been playing. Another fun factor, I was reading up on this, they can actually still manipulate service time if they keep him down for 20 days. They can accrue an extra year of service time on him if they keep him for 20. Now,
if he doesn't make the top 2 in rookie of the year.
That's the other caveat. Yeah, he has to be down for more than 20 days, 20 or more, and he can't finish in the top 2 of the rookie voting, which doesn't seem like that's happening right now. By the way, number 3 on the NL rookie of the year is 10-1. Kodai Senga. The top 2, Outman and Carroll, they are essentially 2-1. Those are the big dogs. So they can manipulate and own more service time if they do this. They could bring him up in like 2 weeks, and then everything is still good. He could still qualify for his Super 2, and he could still do the extra pick, and all those things can happen. But I think this is like old school manager stuff. of not wanting to get him in the lineup, giving it to guys like Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman. And there may possibly be, hey, if you're not going to play him, this isn't going to serve anything. They could potentially manipulate. All of these things are in play to just say it's dumb. And there's no way I could probably let off the gas on this, because I think he's going to go into AAA. He's going to destroy baseballs. He'll be a backup in a couple weeks, and hopefully they don't screw it up. But I would try to hold on at every way that you can hold on. If you can't, sure, you could move on. He hasn't been lighting the world up, but I'm trying my best to keep him at any cost.
Yeah, I updated my rankings and did the trade values chart today. That'll be up on CBSSports.com today as you're listening to this. And I think I dropped him to like 180-ish. So like I very much still want to have him on my roster. That's very much the range where like I guess you could drop him, but I think it would be a mistake. And it's frustrating because like all of the reasons that you can make for Jordan Walker deserving to be sent down, I don't think he deserves to be sent down, but like, yeah, his defense is bad and he's got bad plate discipline. He swings and misses a lot. And like, you knew what he was. Like, those were all things like, I guess maybe you could look at it and say, well, they made a bet that he took this big leap forward in the offseason and, you know, clearly he wasn't ready for that. But everything that he struggled with, it was completely predictable that he would struggle with it. And I think if they were 15-9 instead of 9-15, he's probably still on the team. And I think also, a little bit of it is just like, oh crap, our team stinks. We need to fix something.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting out the player that might have some of the biggest juice that people are excited about is silly to me. I also wonder if there's anything that this team back and looks and goes, well, look what happened. And there's two stories. There's two stories to this. Look at what happened with Joe Adell. And then look at what happened with Jared Kelenic. And like, are they playing the Jared Kelenic side that they could like get this to work out? How much does this set players back? I just, like you said it, they knew what they were getting into. The guy's 25% K rate. His whiff rate kind of stinks a little bit, but he's still hitting for average. You know, he is still a big physical presence that you're putting at 8. That can, I mean, how many players like that are hitting like 7 or 8 for a team in baseball? They're not. And the best way to learn is to get them on the field, but you have old school manager stuff. I mean, we knew that when you saw the Tyler O'Neill nonsense. He's just giving opportunity to these other guys, and they do not care about the status or develop. I really don't think they care. Marmol cares about the development of this player. He's just like, I just don't have anywhere to play him, so I'm going to play these other guys. So go ahead, do whatever you guys want in the organization. It's pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm. And I think the optimal plan for the Cardinals is like, hey, if one of these outfielders can catch fire, most notably Tyler O'Neill, it's like, maybe they can flip him for a pitcher or something like that. And then they could call up Jordan Walker and he's got an opportunity to play every day. I thought it was still weird in the offseason that, you know, it sounds like they had opportunities to move Tyler O'Neill or fire pitching like Pablo Lopez. All right, maybe you had to give up like Alec Burleson or Lars Nootbaar or something, but hey, Pablo Lopez looks like a really good pitcher. You know, you got to give something to get something. And it just didn't make sense to me why the Cardinals didn't do something like that this offseason. Let's get into Robbie Ray, who needs season-ending surgery to repair his flexor tendon in his left elbow. And look, obviously in redraft leagues, you can go ahead and drop Robbie Ray. He's not going to play this year. In my home league, I was stashing Robbie Ray in an IL spot, and I currently have a claim in from Frankie Montas, so I'm just going to like replace one IL stash with another. So that's one thing I'd recommend on doing. Obviously, go out and pick up any or all of those young pitching prospects that we spoke about earlier. Welsh, what I wanted to ask you about is Chris Flexen is currently in the Mariners rotation, but perhaps this makes it more likely that we see somebody like Bryce Miller or even like an Emerson Hancock at some point this year. What do you think about those two and maybe their chances of contributing at the big league level?
I definitely think the opportunity's out there. How soon? I don't think so. I think they're going to cart Flexen out there for a little bit, and it's going to piss everybody off. And it's not going to be good. And they're going to do it just like Diamondback, do it just to the point where everyone's getting frustrated because Bryce Miller is not pitching super well. I think that's something that's holding him back. He's also at AA. Emerson Hancock has been, you know what? I must have a start that got bad. He has a 7 ERA right now. Bryce Miller has around a 6. Taylor Dollard is another guy. He's got around like a 8 or 9 ERA. So all of these guys not working. I would have to look. Prelander Baroa is another person. I'm saying lots of names to everybody. if they want to do it internally, they got it. And I was having this argument with our friend Scott Bogman that he's like, well, they're going to go trade for somebody. And I go, they're not going to do that right away, because there's no way I see this team giving assets to go get like a Vince Velasquez, who, by the way, wouldn't be available because the Pittsburgh Pirates are winning. If they're going to make a move, they're going to, because they've got mediocre pitchers. They have Marco Gonzalez. They have Flexion. They don't need that. They would go to do this to get a big piece, but who's selling? So I think they're going to wait this out to start to see how the market opens up and see if a team or two is, I think they will be the most active in trying to seek pitching because of how, how crazy this is. But one of these guys, I do think gets an opportunity to flex and blows up over the next couple of weeks. I wish I could tell you guys who it is. I'm not sure if any of these guys, because you got a couple AA pitchers that are struggling, but Bryce Miller is the one that kind of jumps out to me. Even though he's been scuffling a little bit, he pitched so much with the big league and the catchers are used to him. He's still the guy I kind of hold out hope that he could maybe get that spot.
You mentioned the name Prelander Baroa, and so far in 3 starts at AA, he's got a 5.79 ERA and a 1.71 WHIP. Lots of strikeouts, but yeah, I think he definitely needs some more time as well. Let's get into the other news and notes. Max Muncy is expected to rejoin the Dodgers on Friday against the Cardinals. Aaron Judge is okay after an injury scare on a slide into third base. Apparently, both of his hands got jammed into the dirt.
It was real awkward looking, yeah.
I didn't see it because I was watching my man, Bibee, Tanner Bibee. I want to think of a nickname. I don't have anything good yet. The Bibes. The Bibes are great. Like the vibes are great.
I was thinking like I did this, and this is really going to be cringy, but it's like you got little Bieber, you got a little bye. Maybe it's like in sync. The rotation, it's a little. They're in sync.
It's funny you say that too, because I thought about that earlier, and I was like, oh, maybe I should make a new soundbite for whenever he pitches. Bye, and then we can just kind of get into it.
Probably the only thing you can really do with him. Yeah, someone will come up with something.
Bye,
really
birdie.
Good.
Yeah, you want to age yourself.
Yeah, if we're 60, yeah.
Yu Darvish is on track to start Sunday against the Giants in Mexico City.
That's actually a worse pitching environment than Coors Field. Mexico City, there have been a handful of series played there, and I remember reading some analysis that I think it's like about 1,500 feet higher than Coors Field is. And so, yeah, it's I'm pretty sure it's a bad pitching environment. So don't be surprised if Yu Darvish struggles in that one.
Tim Anderson will begin a rehab assignment at AAA this weekend. Taijuan Walker exited his start due to right forearm tightness. And I know Ranger Suarez is on the verge of returning. So maybe they just kind of make that swap, and that would allow Matt Strahm to remain in the rotation for now. Tristan McKenzie could begin throwing in the bullpen as early as this weekend. He's eligible to come off the IL May 29th. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll be ready at that point. George Springer left after getting hit by a pitch on his right hand. X-rays came back negative. Speaking of which, Javier Baez's X-rays came back negative after being hit by a pitch, this time on his left hand. Speaking of which, Josh Young's X-rays also came up negative after being hit by a pitch on his left hand. It's like everyone got hit on their hand today. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like anything too serious. And the last one, I swear. Austin Hayes is set to miss multiple games with a bruised right hand. He was hit by a pitch on Tuesday, not on Wednesday. Kenta Maeda left his start early on Wednesday and will undergo an MRI on his right elbow. I hope you didn't start him anywhere. And we told you not to start him. 10 earned runs in 3 innings of work, and then he left, and seems like clearly there's something going on with the elbow here.
A hurt elbow or hurt feelings? Like, what do you really think?
I mean, he's had like a back issue, the ankle. Yeah, it's been a lot wrong with Kenta Maeda right now. I think he's droppable.
The name that came to mind was Bailey Ober, who has flashed a little bit here or there. He's only 11% rostered, so if you play in deeper leagues, I'd speculate and pick up Bailey Ober. Welsh, I know Simeon Woods Richardson is a name that was up late last year as well, but Bailey Ober would probably get the first shot, right?
Actually, already been up. They called him up and they brought him up in like a relief role, which is super weird. So yeah, I think Bailey Ober is the guy because they brought him up and didn't put Simeon Woods Richardson because he pitched. He may have pitched recently, but I saw him pitch like over the weekend, and it was just in like a 6 or 7 inning role. So I would say it's first Bailey, and if that doesn't work out, Simeon Woods will get the next shot.
All right. JD Martinez has missed 2 straight with back tightness. Mike Yastrzemski was scratched Wednesday due to left side tightness. Chase Silseth was recalled by the Angels, and in 4 starts at AAA, he had a .90 ERA, a .90 WHIP, 20 strikeouts, and 20 innings pitched. He's 5% rostered. I saw that he pitched in relief on
He
Wednesday.
pitched in relief. They're keeping Jose Suarez in the rotate. It's crazy. Like I don't understand what's happening. You want to be like calm about like what teams do, their baseball organizations, but like I really don't know if the Angels know what they're doing with pitching outside of like Ohtani. I don't know what's going on. They brought up Silseth, who could easily take his spot, who was dominant in the minors. They pitch him in relief, and they're going to keep Suarez in the rotation. Crazy pills. This entire situation is with them.
And Chase Silseth in his 2 innings of work in relief, 0 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. So look, if we see one more Jose Suarez blow up, which is very likely, then maybe Silseth gets an opportunity to go into the rotation. Ryan Weathers was option 2 AAA by the Padres. That's our last note here.
His velocity was way down in his relief appearance. He averaged like 89 with his fastball. It was down like 5 miles per hour from when he was starting.
I thought it was a typo, Chris.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to see after the game, like his arm literally fell off on the mound. Like 5 miles per hour down.
Yeah, that was alarming.
It was crazy. Let's get into some waiver wire hitters, and we'll start off with, you know who, Joey Gallo.
You're falling.
1 for 4 with another home run, his 7th of the season. 2 homers against those pesky Yankees. Revenge games for Joey Gallo. 56% rostered. He's got 6 games next week. Just 1 lefty on the schedule. And I don't know if he plays every day against lefties. I saw in the series against the Yankees, there was 1 lefty, Nestor Cortez, and Gallo did not start that game. He did come on as a pinch hitter, so maybe not going to play against lefties at first, but he's been hot when he's played so far this season. Jarren Duran, speaking of being hot, 2 more hits, batting .400 with 1 homer, 2 steals, 29% rostered. He's got 7 games next week, 2 lefties on the schedule. Hasn't played against lefties, but starting to think that might change. I mean, he is hot, and I think the Red Sox should keep him out there for now. Trey Mancini is coming around. He went 2 for 4 with his 3rd home run, and in his last 14 games, he's batting .283 with all of those 3 home runs so far, 29% rostered. And then Esteury Ruiz had 2 hits and 4 steals on Wednesday night against the Angels. He had an RBI and a run scored. He's now up to 9 steals. He has led off 10 games in a row for the Oakland A's. He's 49% rostered.
I wanted to add real quick. You know what's so cool about the new climate of stolen bases? This stuff is just changing on a nightly basis. Like we think we know, we got no idea. Like Acuna's at the top. Guys are going 3 base, stealing a bunch of bases. Carroll's stealing a bunch of bases. Maeda. It is a wild. It is. I don't want to call it like home run chasey type of stuff, but like I think the end of the year might be nuts, especially as the summer starts to drag on. Guys start running. I kind of scoffed at the whole like, oh, we're gonna get like 70. We might legit be seeing multiple 50 plus. Like it looks like we might be 5+ people going 50 stolen bases this year.
I mean, Acuna is on pace for 80 something. I think we've already had. I want to say there was something like there were 6 players when I looked over the weekend. There were 6 players who had at least 9. I don't think there were any last April. We had the late start last April, but still, it was pretty wild.
Yep. And apparently Ronald Acuna can't hit home runs. And then what does he do? He goes out and hits a home run against Sandy Alcantara, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Wow. Who could have saw that coming? Towers, let's rank these outfielders from a points league perspective. Welsh, you'll get from a roto league perspective. Gallo, Duran, Mancini, and Esteury Ruiz.
I think I would go Gallo in a points league. I think in that order, Gallo, Duran, Mancini, Ruiz. I think you could make a case for Mancini over Duran just because of the playing time, but I don't really expect Mancini to be particularly good, so I'd rather gamble on the upside with Duran. But yeah, if you need someone to fill in right now, Mancini is a better option than Duran. Ruiz is interesting because he is kind of making some adjustments after last season. The strikeout rate's down to 16%. He's not really walking, but what he is doing is he's slapping the ball over the field. His opposite field hit rate is 40% right now. That's, like peak DJ LeMahieu kind of stuff. His average exit velocity is really bad, 86.6%, but that's just normal bad. Whereas last season, Esteury Ruiz was 73 mile per hour average exit velocity. He's 14th percentile there.
Oof.
That might play. That might be enough for him to hit 270 and and do a little Billy Hamilton impersonation here.
Yeah.
So he's definitely more interesting in Roto, though. I don't think he's going to have much value in points.
Jaron Duran, you know what they say about him? He's hungry, like the wolf. Welsh, let's rank these outfielders in a Roto league. Joey Gallo, Jaron Duran, Trey Mancini, and Esteury Ruiz.
I think Mancini's at the bottom. I think Duran is the third, and he might be the best floor of all those players. So I totally acknowledge that for any Red Sox fan losing their mind. He might be the best floor of like combo of all that stuff. But you have two completely opposite players. You have Joey Gallo with all the power and Esteury with all the speed. So I don't want to cop out, but I will tell you it's obviously your own flavor of what you're chasing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this. Yeah, there's almost an argument. I was about to say the stolen bases because of the position, but there's an argument that more elite power is something you want to chase over stolen bases in this new environment. I've become kind of a known Joey Gallo hater. So I have a hard time believing this will ever continue. Not that Esteury is that much better of a hitter, but he does have a 245, 246 XBA to his 250-ish batting average. So I'm going to go Esteury at the top, Joey Gallo number 2, Duran. I'm going to go it that way. But you know how to deal with your own categories that you're chasing if you're looking for more power or speed.
All right, Towers, is this real or is it just the Oakland A's that are making Brandon Drury look good right now? He is back with a vengeance. 2 more hits, hit a home run, a double, 3 RBI. His last 3 games, all against the A's. 7 hits, 3 homers, 6 runs, 9 RBI. The dude is going off so far this series. 52% rostered. Are you buying it at all?
No, I think the likeliest answer is just that he's not completely hopeless, and occasionally decent players have little hot streaks, and I think that's probably what we're seeing now for Brandon Drury. But back in 2021 he played, it was only 88 plate appearances, but he had like a 783 OPS. I could see something around there moving forward, mid 700s OPS, but not what he was with Cincinnati. So I'm still gonna say it's not real.
Welsh, any interest in these names in deeper leagues? Never say never. Nick Senzel went 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe. His first homer and second steal of the season, a walk-off homer at that. And G1 Bay 3 for 4 with 2 more steals. He's batting .254 with 2 home runs and 10 steals so far this season. Any interest deeper leagues?
Pretty minimal interest in Senzel. It's an injury away from losing super mediocre production. Maybe it's going to pick up a little bit. Bay, definitely. Bay was someone I completely underrated as like a prospect, and the stolen bases are getting up there. I don't see any reason why he's going to be coming off of this team anytime soon. He can kind of play a multi-position role because not quite a super util, but in that, Bay, I think, has a more serviceable pickup than Senzel ability right now.
All right, let's take our final break, and when we return, a few more waiver wire pitchers right after this.
Get breaking news.
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
Highlights and instant reaction.
The largest final round comeback in tour championship history. We're down to the final 4.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
Welcome back, and let's talk some waiver wire pitchers. Rowanzi Contreras makes it 3 straight quality starts. This one up against the Dodgers. 6 shutout, 2 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts for him. Only 7 swinging strikes, but man, he's looked pretty good. He got rocked his second start against the Astros. Other than that, he's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in each of his other 4 starts. Tyler Wells had another strong start up against the Red Sox. 5 2/3, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts for him, and Yusei Kikuchi, is he like consistent all of a sudden? Like what is going on? Up against the White Sox, 5 2/3 shutout with 8 strikeouts, 15 swinging strikes, throwing his changeup more this season, but still allowing a lot of hard contact. That's what worries me about Kikuchi. Last name, Drew Smyly, coming off, he took a perfect game into the 8th inning last time out. He's going up against the Padres. Solid start, 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts for him. Towers, we'll start with you. How do you rank this group? Smyly, Kikuchi, Tyler Wells, and Rowanzi Contreras.
I would go probably Kikuchi, Contreras, Wells, Smyly. I don't really know what to make of Yusei Kikuchi. I want to believe that he's taking a step forward, but I don't. I think like he's always had an interesting skill set. Credit to him. He constantly tinkers to try to find the right combination of pitches, but at the end of the day, he just gets hit too hard, and that's going to cost him at some point. The results have been good so far, but he's not such a huge strikeout guy that I think he can really thrive. I think he can be useful at times, but I think in the long run, the ERA is going to end up over 4 for Yusei Kikuchi.
Okay, so of this group, Welsh, are you taking MacKenzie Gore over all 4 of the names I just mentioned?
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Yes.
Easy Gore over all of these guys. Do you want me to rank them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I know we're going to probably move on. Not that the rank even matters. I just want to give out this stat. I hadn't noticed this, and this is stupid. I would probably go actually Smiley at the top, and then Kikuchi 2, then Contreras and Wells. I want to put Contreras at the top. My only worry, obviously, K percentage to walk percentage, not good. He has an under 10 K minus walk percentage because he's walking 10.6%. But check this out. This is ridiculous on him. So he has been a primary slider pitcher, 45% usage. The curveball gets really good whiff. So the slider's getting a 43% whiff rate, 33% curveball. He throws his four-seam fastball almost 38% of the time. Guess the whiff percentage on it, unless you already know. You want to take it just a stab?
Is this Contreras?
This is Contreras.
The whiff rate on his four-seam fastball, I'll say 15%.
What do you think, Towers? You're muted.
You are muted, sir.
I'm going to say below 10% because his strikeout rate's so low.
You're right. 1.8%.
Why was
1.8% whiff rate on the fastball, four-seam fastball. That's probably also not sustainable. That's really not good. Great that he can do the other pitch as well, but no one's fearing that fastball. So that's why Contreras is a little bit lower than me with the walk issue, not big strikeouts, a really ineffective fastball. I think Smiley has just looked really well. So I just really wanted to get that Contreras thing out.
I do want to say, I think Tyler Wells could fake his way into a pretty decent season here. Because he gives up a lot of fly balls, which we don't typically love, but it's a lot of weak fly balls. It's a lot of pop-ups, pop-up rate over 10% this season. He's not walking anyone. And so it's kind of a situation where, like, because of where he plays, I could see Tyler Wells having one of those, like, Chris Bassett type seasons where, yeah, the strikeout rates are pretty mediocre to bad. The underlying stats suggest a lot of regression coming, but he might just be able to survive and be like a, 3.8 ERA pitcher just because of, the home park he has. Maybe you don't want to start him on the road or against bad matchups, but Tyler Wells could be pretty useful.
And all of those pitchers look like they're going to be 2-star pitchers for next week. So if you do want to beat the waiver wire, Contreras has the Blue Jays and the Rays, which is like really, really tough matchups. MacKenzie Gore, who we talked about earlier, has the Cubs and the Diamondbacks next week. Tyler Wells gets the Royals and the Braves, so one good matchup, one not so good. Kikuchi gets the Red Sox and Pirates, which, coming into the year, you thought maybe they'd both be good, and now they might both be bad. Drew Smiley has the best matchups of this group, the Marlins and the Nationals. So if you're chasing
that's pretty good.
Drew Smiley, really, really good for next week. 3 pitchers to buy that I wanted to mention here, and some people are going to say, wow, you're really going out on a limb, Frank. Sandy Alcantara, you're telling people to buy him. Well, buy low. If people are looking at the overall numbers and still see an ERA over 5, and this was a pitcher going in the second round on draft day, if you can get him for like 4th or 5th round value, then yes, technically you are buying low, and that's something that I would look to do. Up against the Braves on Wednesday, 5 2/3, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 20 swinging strikes. That is super impressive for Sandy Alcantara. On 88 pitches at that, too, he has 14 plus swinging strikes in 4 of 5 starts. That's another thing. You look at the K per 9 and the strikeout percentage so far this year, it doesn't line up with how many swinging strikes Sandy Alcantara is getting so far. So I think more strikeouts are on the way. So I would be looking to buy on him right now. The other 2 names, they're kind of like buy high situations. People just, maybe they're not really buying into it enough. Freddie Peralta had a bounce-back outing up against the Tigers. 6 innings, 2 unearned runs, 8 strikeouts to 0 walks, 22 swinging strikes on 98 pitches. Fastball velocity remains up about 2 miles per hour compared to last year for Peralta. And Hunter Brown, a very impressive start. He goes into Tampa Bay, one of the best offenses in baseball so far. 7 shutout, 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 12 swinging strikes on 95 pitches. And he is a different pitcher this year. He is leading with his slider. Last year, mostly fastball over 50% of the time. Then his curveball, like 30%. And he barely mixed in his slider. The slider is now his go-to pitch. He has completely revamped his pitch mix. And I am very interested. Welsh, I'll start with you. Would you be looking to buy any or all of these names? Hunter Brown, Freddie Peralta, Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah, it's no doubt on Sandy. This is what you do. This is what you do in April is you go and you find studs that have some struggles and they're having to work through things and you get great value. So it's a no-brainer. I love the Hunter Brown one. I like to do that against the Rays and just in general of how he's been developing as a pitcher, because, you know, we talk about heavy fastballs and that complete mix change on his 4 pitches or 3 pitches, really, if you want to do that. I think it really keeps batters having to be honest. And I think he has been phenomenal. And I love the potential K percentage. It's around 24. It's a little lower than it was last year. But as he's working through this, I think the walks are going to come down. I don't think I'm super interested in Peralta. Like, I see where you're going with it and I could do it, but he is not of interest where the other 2 definitely are.
Mm-hmm. Towers, any thoughts?
The issue with buying Peralta is just I have no real doubts that he's going to be good as long as he's healthy. It's just that staying healthy has been such a problem for him. And,
right,
you know, as we saw last season, he can pitch and not be 100% right because the velocity was down. He relies so much on that fastball being so hard to pick up. And, you know, that works better when he's, you know, averaging 93, 94 like he is this season. So I don't really doubt that Freddie Peralta is going to be good. It's just pitcher injuries are hard to predict, and he's more likely than most pitchers to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. I did want to quickly mention Kodai Senga, wild once again up against the Nationals. I tweeted this out. He was through 4 innings and he had 85 pitches. I'm like, you can't start this guy right now. He's walking too many batters. Then he comes out and he has like a perfect 5th inning. And, you know, the final line doesn't look so bad at the end of the day. 5 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. He did walk 4 more. He has 3 or more walks in all 5 starts this season. He has exactly 4 walks in 3 straight. And then I looked at, all right, well, what's the matchups for next week? He's a 2-star pitcher. The problem is that he gets the Braves, tough matchup, and then he gets the Rockies. So you get the Rockies on the road in Citi Field. That's a good matchup. Welsh, what are you doing with Kodai Senga right now? Do you just stick him on the bench?
Yeah, I think you got to play matchups with him, unfortunately. The K numbers are pretty good. He's still pretty inconsistent. I was actually going to ask you, who'd you rather, Senga or Gore, since we're doing the whole Gore thing all episode?
I think I would still go with Senga. It's mostly for team context, though. Like, if he could just get those walks down to like 2 or 3 per outing, then, you know, maybe he can push a little bit deeper. The strikeouts have been very good for him so far. So, and just pitching for the Mets is so much better than the Nationals. So it's getting closer, but I would still lean Senga.
Okay. Towers any different? You don't believe in Gore, so it's probably not.
Senga versus Gore. Yeah, I have Senga ranked higher, but it wouldn't take too much to change that.
Mm-hmm. A few hitting leftovers from Wednesday. Cedric Mullins, guy is off to a fantastic start. He went 2 for 3 with a walk, his 10th steal of the season. Bat 271. He's got 3 homers, 20 RBI as a leadoff man so far. It's great stuff for him. Bo Bichette went 3 for 4 with his 5th home run. He's batting 340. Whit Merrifield is off to a solid start. He went 2 for 4 with 2 RBI and his 4th steal. He's batting 313 with 6 doubles. The problem has been 0 homers. And in this environment, you're probably not going to get much power from Whit. But hey, batting average, a couple of runs scored, some steals. He's been doing that.
It would help if he ran more. You know, like he's on what is now like a 25 homer or 25 steal pace. It's just like when that and batting average are really all you're contributing, it's like, I don't know how useful that actually is, you know?
Would you rather have Whit or Isturi?
I think I would rather have Ruiz.
Okay.
I think Whit is more likely to give you batting average for sure. But
how about this, though? Whit Merrifield, 92nd percentile in sprint speed. So what if he just goes off on, you know, one of these weeks where he steals like 5 bases? Then
a team still doesn't do it, though. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But I think also part of it is just he doesn't play as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ruiz is playing every day and batting leadoff.
Whit has been playing every day though now, and I read an article that said that he has earned that because he's off to a really good start. So I think they're going to play every day. but he's not leading off. You're right about that. Jose Miranda went 2 for 3 with a double dong, his first 2 home runs of the season, which we need something because it's not been a great start for him. Gleyber Torres has really slowed down, but had a big game, went 2 for 5 with his 3rd home run. Nick Castellanos is off to a nice start, which you'll love to see it after last year's terrible season. 3 for 4 with his 3rd home run. He added 3 RBI. And Paul Goldschmidt went 4 for 5 with a double dong in that night game against the Giants. Call to the bullpen for the Rockies. Daniel Bard pitched in the 6th inning with the Rockies down 2 runs at the time. Pierce Johnson then pitched the 8th. And I feel like it's going to take a little bit of time to get Bard back in that closer role. If you have him in a deeper category league, I think I would hold if you held on this long, obviously. I think eventually he's going to get back in the closer role, but given what he's gone through, I think it makes sense for them to kind of slow roll it with Daniel Bard. For the Diamondbacks, the Sheriff, they call him the Sheriff. I didn't know that, Welsh. I love it. It's a great nickname. Like, there is no player that embodies a sheriff or a closer at the same time than Andrew Chafin. And
he's got the look.
He picked up his 4th save of the season. He's 56% rostered for those that need saves. Jose Alvarado struck out 2 for his 4th save, and Kyle Finnegan struck out 2 for his 5th save. Welsh, if you need saves, how would you rank that group? Chafin, Alvarado, and Kyle Finnegan.
I think I would go Alvarado, Chafin, and then Finnegan. I just don't know if Chafin keeps it the whole year. They moved Ginkel a little bit further back into the rotation. I think he's an option. Joe Mantiply still getting himself back. So Alvarado's the one I feel the best about.
The last one here for the Braves, AJ Minter struck out 2 for his 5th save, and it's been a very rocky go. Sounds like Raisel Iglesias could be back soon as well. The regulars in the bullpen, Emmanuel Clase picked up his 8th save. Ryan Presley picked up his 2nd. And Josh Hader picked up his 9th. I also just saw that Camilo Doval got the final 2 outs in that game for his 3rd save of the season. Let's wrap up with a polarizing segment. I didn't realize how polarizing it really was, but here we are. We're getting lots of complaints on YouTube and tweets rolling in. The Daily Streamer segment, blah, blah, blah. Let me remind you that there is a lot of nuance that comes on this podcast. It's very hard to give blanket analysis for all leagues. Like, there is no one size fits all. And, we do it towards the end of the podcast. We kind of breeze through it. It's something fun to talk about, but we can't say, like, are you going to start this guy in a 10, 12 or 15 team league? It would just take too much time to do that for each individual player. So what we're going to do moving forward is that I have all the names listed, and I'm going to ask whoever's on that day, give me your 2 or 3 favorites. And that's what we'll do. So I'm not just like reading off names and we're saying no to all of them, because apparently people don't really like that. So to stream or not to stream, the new edition of this, of the names listed, you guys can see them here on Thursday. Give me 2 or 3 of your favorites. Anyone that stand out?
All right. So I think there's one clear standout, even though he doesn't have a good matchup, and it's Mitch Keller. Just the gains that he's made over the past year or so, becoming more of a contact pitcher, but doing a good job limiting hard contact. Yes, it's the Dodgers. That's the thing that makes me a little scared of it. But if I had to start one of them, it would be Mitch Keller. Although I also think Joey Lucchesi versus Washington is very interesting after the start that he had. And I don't hate Kyle Gibson at Detroit.
Yeah, those are 3 of the 4 that I have written down. I think Seth Lugo at the Cubs is terrible.
That one's also, pretty interesting.
All right. I mean, I don't know why we're not saying Matt Strahm. We're still not doing the Matt Strahm. I'm all over Matt Strahm here.
Hey, you're the Strahm guy, so stick with
I guess. I mean, top 10 strikeouts in the league is Seattle. He's going to get you strikeouts. He's going to keep them in the game. The offense is going to be there. I think Matt Strahm is my number 1 here. I also really like the Kyle Gibson one. I don't want to like, oh, go out and do it. It's a muster. But I like Kyle Gibson. I like Strahm. I could get down with Keller because that offense with LA and the strikeouts and stuff have been bad. Those are the 3 that I'm locked into. But why do you guys hate Matt Strahm? Why do you hate Matt? Frank, why do you hate Matt Strahm?
I don't hate him. I have him in the Scott White Dynasty League. I like him quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah, you actually, I think you outbid me. Yeah, I think you did. So
yeah.
Yes,
so
Matt Strahm. Matt Strahm is my play. So be careful.
Matt Strahm, last time out, Welsh was on and he said he guaranteed you 6 strikeouts from Matt Strahm. I think he had that in like the first 3 innings of that start.
So
he's been pretty good. On Friday, these names are not nearly as good. The one that really stands out is Eduardo Rodriguez up against the Orioles.
Yeah.
Orioles are swinging a hot bat, but Erod is the best name available on this list. Like Wade Miley against the Angels, don't love it. Like Kyle Muller at home against the Reds, like not really. So I think it's just Erod for me.
Yeah, I think probably.
I could maybe get down with Rich Hill in the strikeouts if you're chasing some strikeouts. Washington, we just saw what, I don't know. I think we saw like where, Senga was and everything. I think I could get down with Rich Hill. Eduardo Rodriguez is my top, but, got to be very careful about our winning percentage here, Frank. And, we're being tracked here. We're being tracked about the hits on this daily stream. So I guess you could throw Rich Hill into my pool.
And look, I'm not calling out all listeners because most of the listeners enjoy like all the segments that we do. And obviously I appreciate that. But there's a lot of people that just have complaints, and I get it. Pitching is off to a slow start. Everyone is chasing pitching, right? I'll tell you what, daily streamers, probably not the way to do it. You probably want to go out and acquire some pitching via trade or something. So
great point.
We'll continue doing the segment, but like these guys are free agents for a reason. It's because they're not great pitchers. So keep that in mind. You probably don't want to do it with volume. We're going to wrap there for the Chris's. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball Today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.